Hey guys, I'm Becky and welcome to my channel. So today is just going over a monthly update for October. I feel like October, no matter what, is typically a very good month with Halloween and all the little munchkins getting excited about trick-or-treating and candy and costumes. And then autumn coming in with the fall colors changing on the leaves and the trees, and it's just a beautiful time to be out in nature and to experience that, and I absolutely love it. So October is one of my favorite months just because of that. It's hard to compete with all of that natural beauty and excitement from pure excitement from the kids. So as far as what I worked on this month, October was a big month of planning and preparation and not a lot of output for people to see publicly, which is important. I think that rising and that grinding behind the scenes is what lays the foundation of what you move forward with, and that was a lot of what happened in October. I did do one post where I talked about earning $1,000 of gross earnings from charging Lime scooters, and kind of broke down a review of what that's like, what it entails, what the pros and cons are of it, and I feel like it went pretty good. I think that's going to be a staple post for quite a while. It's getting a lot of views, a lot of feedback from people, so I'm excited to have been able to provide that to someone, and hopefully someone can take that and use that and make some money and better themselves financially because of that. October is also my last month with my day job, so my last day of officially working for them was the 29th. Turned in my badge and all the good stuff, and then on the 30th, put on my big girl pants and started focusing headlong into my personal finance plan with this business and the podcast and everything and going on with my photography. So diving in full force. I did take the 31st off Halloween. I went fishing and trick-or-treating with some munchkins, and then jumping right back into it and making sure that I'm setting myself up with a very good foundation to keep building off of in the future. So as the staple of these monthly updates, I really focus on my stock market portfolio. As we all know, the idea that I have for this is to function as a dividend growth portfolio where it's producing goal-wise about $2,000 a month in dividends. That is a long ways off, but we're always getting one step closer every single month with all those dividends that I get and reinvest back into my portfolio. So here's my current breakdown. My stock value, my whole portfolio stock value is just under $30,000 at $29,892.45. I had $101.54 of cash on hand ready to reinvest. And then my lending club portfolio is steadily decreasing. It's now under $350 at a nice $348.48. So a grand total of $30,342.47 in my brokerage accounts is what we're going to call those. So my total dividends came in just about where I was expecting. I came in at $105.71 for the entire month. So we're happy to have those. I think we'll start seeing that once a quarter we have a month that's over $100. And then probably by the end of next year, hopefully the middle of next year, we'll have every single month making $100 at least in dividends, and that'll just continue to increase. So my portfolio is very close to getting to $30,000. Once it breaks that, that's going to be a big milestone for me, something that I've been working towards very slowly. As we know, it takes time to get to that first 100,000, and it just kind of compounds really quickly after that. Well, more quickly, I should say. So I'm excited to hit that $30,000 this next month. Fingers crossed if the market doesn't take a turn down. So that'll be a big milestone. As far as my dividend earners, as we all know, I have a lot invested with the ticker symbol NYMT, which has transitioned into a long-term stable investment that I plan on keeping for quite a while. I get $40 every single quarter from just my investment in that company. So I'm very happy with that return. I kept it simple this month, and I only invested in 22 shares of ticker symbol NYL, and that's just to keep my portfolio balanced out. I use a spreadsheet that identifies where my cost and values are in the different sectors and how I want to keep rebalancing that to keep them in my goals. As far as side hustles, I only spent a little bit of time working with the Lime scooters. I grossed in earnings of just under $113, which led to a total of net earnings of $67.21. As I mentioned earlier, I finally hit I almost said $100,000 in gross earnings with working with Lime, which is a great milestone. I'm going to continue to keep working on that as a side hustle and getting some income while we're going through this volatile market for myself and my work life. So I think it's a great opportunity. So my photography business, something that I really enjoy. It's one of the biggest passions that I have in my life. I worked on releasing a calendar for 2020, 2022. Years are hard. I showed you a little bit of what it might look like. This is the picture of what it actually turned into. I originally was going to go with a 16 by 16 calendar size, and then as I was crunching numbers right before I purchased an order of it, I decided that that was probably not the best option, and I went with a smaller size that gave me a little bit more of a buffer with earnings versus cost to buy and all of that. Just trying to figure out that perfect ratio of pricing and ordering and all of that stuff that's new to me. So I'm expecting that to do pretty well. Fingers crossed, hopefully. I think it's going to do well. If you'd like to take a look at it, I will put a link down to where you can purchase that or take a look at it. As far as prints, October has been my best month that I have ever had. I have grossed the most amount of money from selling prints and sold the most amount in a single month. So we are leaps and bounds of where we were just even last year at this time. So I'm really happy to see that growth continuing and sales slowly starting to trickle in faster and faster. So home projects didn't really happen that much in October. I've been focusing on building up my food storage. My parents were a staple of having and maintaining a food storage and a water supply and different cosmetic and health stuff for emergency situations. And so I've been working on building up my own at a smaller level. So I've been slowly building that up. I have a lot of home canned goods from my mother, my sister-in-laws, they all can. And then just cans that you can buy at like Winco for a pretty cheap price. And the idea that I have with that is to build up a 6-month supply of worst case scenario. I could live with that and nothing else. And I'll just plan on rotating the food that I do eat out of that to keep it as fresh as possible. So here's what I want to focus on in November. I know I've talked a little bit back and forth about getting this podcast started. I have finally settled on a name. It took me quite a while to look at what was already out there and narrow down on a specific name that conveyed what I wanted the podcast to really be about. And so we have settled on the name Careers at a Glance. This is the tentative design, art design, whatever you want to call it, of what that's going to look like. And I've actually put in what we're going to call an application, a request with Apple, the podcast people with Apple Podcasts, to get them to accept it so I can start producing that and putting that out. So it's in review right now. I should hear back by the end of this week or early next week and then really get the ball rolling. I've got a couple people lined up for interviews. I'm just waiting on that approval before we start conducting those and getting those pushed out. So I'm really excited for being able to talk to people in that way and just get a better understanding of who they are and what they've gone through and why they do what they do, and giving that information to the public and hopefully helping someone decide what career is best for them, or maybe if they need to make a change. So that's pretty much summing up October for me. It was a pretty easy, even keel month, not too many worst case scenarios happening or anything like that. So we're just steadily putting in work and building a platform and a foundation to slowly keep building off of in the future, and just taking those baby steps one at a time to get to those end goals. So I will see you next time, guys.